novel is called The Vanishing Point, published by Cactus Moon Publications. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been writing for 30 plus years. And for the last 20 years, I've taught creative writing both online and in person for a place called Gotham Writers Workshop out of New York City. This takes place about halfway into the book. There's basically 5 names you're going to hear, 4 characters. The main character, who's a first-person narrator, is Henry. He's about 40 years old. Up till 3 days ago, he lived in New Hampshire, but he's found himself completely by accident in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where he used to live. Cadence is his 10-year-old daughter. He hasn't seen her in 8 years, and she's been raised by Jim and Bonnie, who are her grandparents on the mother's side. The mother is Phillips. She's not in the scene, but 8 years ago, she disappeared out of Santa Fe, just up and took off, and she's not been heard from since. And after a couple of months, Henry took it as leave to disappear himself, and he moved to Chicago and then New Hampshire, and up to this point didn't really have plans on ever seeing his daughter again. This is after they first met for the first time in 8 years at Jim and Bonnie's house in Santa Fe, and he's about to leave. Jim shakes my hand and Bonnie hugs me goodnight. Cadence disappears into her room. There's a long, awkward moment waiting, all of us unsure as to whether she's coming out again. Neither of them mentions further visits. Finally, I go to my truck and start it up. Cadence appears at the side door and puts her hand on the hood of my truck as if to stop me. I roll down my window. After a moment, I turn off the engine. I loved her, your mother, I say. An easy enough lie for me to tell. I'm not sure that what I felt for Phillips really constituted love ever. Or maybe it did then and doesn't now. Or it did sometimes and didn't others. But it was a long time ago, almost this girl's entire life. I think any child would want to know her parents loved each other. But she just stares at me like she perfectly understands why I said that. Cadence has the same way of keeping you off balance as her mother did, using the simplest of looks or certain silences to always make you wonder how much she actually understands and what she perceives. You like living out here? It's the only place I've lived. I've lived all over. I know. You know. I looked up Keene, New Hampshire, and Chicago, Illinois on the map. I even found LaPorte, where my other grandmother lives. My mother? Yes. You know about LaPorte. I know that's where you grew up. Bonnie knew. I'm going to come back, okay? Okay. You could call me. I don't have a number. I don't either, and since there are 2 Motel 6s on the same stretch as Cerritos Road, I can't tell her which is which. I'll find out and leave a message. Okay. I start my truck up and she steps back to where I can see all of her. Maybe it's seeing her whole like that. She's barefoot in baggy basketball shorts, her little feet turned inward in a way that's both cute and sweetly vulnerable. But I know right away what keeps nagging at me, what's so familiar. She looks like me. Not in some general parent-child sense. She looks like I did when I was her age. She stands like I did, like we did. She turns in her feet and hunches her back when she sits, hugging her knees. That wasn't a Phillips gesture, though an hour ago I clearly remembered it as such. But Phillips was a sprawler. She liked to lay back, arms and legs open. She liked her space. She's me. Us. I take the back way home behind Quail Run and pull off to a dirt road I know that rises over a saddle between 2 hills. I sit up on the hood. Stars are out and the moon is behind me, blocked from view. There's just enough light left to make out dark boiling clouds hanging right on top of Santa Fe Baldy. There's a gunmetal cold wind out of the north that makes this little rise feel irredeemably sad and remote. I'm still alone. I've always been alone. Having a daughter isn't going to change that, especially not one I abandoned years before. I shiver and Cadence's face comes to me so quickly it has the feeling of a haunting. I watch a pinpoint light move around the sky. It feels intangible, elusive, full of meaning. I doubt what I saw was actually Cadence's face. Could it have been Phillips's? Does Cadence look like her mother? She must, in some way, but I can no longer remember Phillips's face. For the first time in a long time, I find myself wondering if she's alive. Through all the 8 years she's been gone, I've had a spectral relationship with the memories of my ex-wife. A gnawing psychic connection, her presence looming just out of my perceptual reach, but often as prominent as my life. I assumed when a marriage ends as disastrously as mine did, there's an endless amount of detritus left over. And there's some comfort in that. She's gone, I'm gone, and in our absence we're forever linked. I was always sure at the very least I'd know if she was no longer on this earth. But what if that connection I felt these 8 years wasn't her? What if she drove 1,000 miles, changed her name, and died in an anonymous traffic accident before I even managed to work myself up to leaving Santa Fe and our daughter? Or caught cancer, or stepped off the curb at exactly the wrong moment, or met a man who killed her. Maybe she's been long reborn and her new improved presence is out there right now, and that's what I feel. Or maybe it never was her. Maybe it was Cadence all along. She's the one I've been waiting for all these years.